Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
7th rebound of the game for Avdi. Now to Kamara. One more try for three. Yes, sir! A career-high 7 3-pointers made for Toumani Kamara. He's got 23 points, and the Blazers lead it by 15. Timeout Sixers. Grant taps it to Kamara. Back to Jeremy on the wing. Cross court. Kamara's got it. Gives it to Drew. Back to Toumani. Another three. Another make! A career-high 26 points for Toumani Kamara as he knocks down his 8th three-pointer of the night. 90-72 Trailblazers. Another block by Klingon, and he scoops it up. Gives it to Scoot. Looks behind him. And brings it across the timeline. Now the lob to Kamara. Dunks it in. 28 for Kamara.
Scoot and Henderson laying treats on his teammates.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing starts now.
All right, last night at Moda Center, the Trailblazers in that third quarter played some of the best basketball that I've seen from the team in several years. That was exquisite. The game was a one-point game at halftime. The Sixers were up by a single point, and they were up by 10 in the second quarter. Philly was actually controlling the game, and then the Blazers went on a 19-8 run to retake the lead at 62-61. The Sixers led 65-64 at halftime. And so I was uncertain what to expect as the third quarter got underway. They were struggling in the first half with the Sixers' pressure at the point of attack. The turnovers were once again a problem. And then the third quarter started, and the Blazers put together 12 minutes of sensational basketball. Just some of the numbers in that third. They shot the ball better than 61%. They were 8 of 15 from downtown, and they out-rebounded the Sixers 17-6. And as good as they were on the offensive end, it was their defense that really sparked that wave of emotion that just drowned the Sixers and put the game away. They were up by 26 points going into the fourth. The game was over. And even more importantly, Toumani Kamara was on fire, hotter than a pistol last night. He had 30 points through 3 quarters, which is a career high. He hit 8 threes, 8 of 10 from downtown. That's a career high. And he was 10 of 12 overall for the game. Toumani Kamara is rounding into form. And, you know, early in the season, he was struggling to find his spot, couldn't hit the mark, was struggling from three-point land, and he's really starting to settle in. And I think part of the struggle for Toumani was with so many guys out of the lineup, he was having to carry such a load, especially on defense. And keep in mind, no one has traveled more defensively in terms of miles traveled in the entire league than Toumani Kamara. I mean, he is well out in front of everybody else in that category. So the guy, basically what I'm trying to say is that Toumani Kamara works his ass off every night. He is running around defending, often drawing the other team's best player, like we saw last night with Tyrese Maxey, who's a freak of a player. I love watching Tyrese Maxey play. He's incredibly fast. He can hit shots from all angles, and he's got incredible range. But Toumani was out there battling him. Denny Avdia, to much of our surprise, played last night. We got a late note from Tiago Splitter that Denny Avdia would probably play, whatever the heck that means. Well, he was in the starting lineup, and he finished with 26 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. It's like the guy, he misses 4 games, he rolls out on the floor, and it's just like an instant triple-double. That's why he's an all-star, because he has been incredibly valuable. What a player he is. But everyone that played last night made a contribution. Shaedon Sharpe did not play with the flared-up calf. I would not expect him to play tomorrow or Thursday, and we'll probably see his return after the All-Star break. I don't think it's serious. I just think, like with any NBA team, anytime they hear calf, they're going to make sure that they go through great lengths to make sure that guy is protected. But everyone made a contribution last night. That was awesome basketball. And now I think you're starting to see once again what the Blazers envisioned when the year got underway, because they're starting to get healthy. When they're healthy, like we saw last night, even without Shaedon, they have a deep roster with a variety of different guys that can hurt you. Whether it's Drew Holiday, Robert Williams was immense last night once again. His production in the minutes that he plays is impressive. And the Blazers training staff has found the sweet spot with Rob Will in terms of no back-to-backs, limiting the minutes, but keeping it at a level where he stays healthy and is ultra productive. Donovan Clingan, what a great rebound he had after the struggles against Cleveland and Phoenix. He was very aggressive last night. And then we see the other guys who kind of fit in and mix in and make plays. Jeremy Grant's been great throughout the year, off the bench or as a starter. Very productive. His best year as a Blazer. And then Blake Wesley, when he comes in, chaos is the best word to describe that guy. Long arms, tenacious defender, and incredibly fast. When he turns on the Jets, it's like, see ya. So, great basketball. And now, all of a sudden, you look at this team, and I think maybe you don't think I'm as crazy as you thought I was when the year began. I projected 45 wins. I do think they're going to hit that. And we'll see what happens over the next 2 games in Minnesota and Utah. But the reality is, if you go through the final 26 games post-All-Star break and you consider the health of the squad with the final 26 games that they have, if you go through and tally up the games you think they're going to win, I think you will be pleasantly surprised of the stretch run and how they're going to do. I think they're going to go 19-7 down the stretch because the schedule is even easier than I thought. I talked to Travis Demers. He thinks 17 wins, 18 wins. Chris Burkhart told me 16. In any event, they're easily going to have a plus number in terms of wins over the final 26. They're squarely in the play-in, and they're going to be in the postseason on some level. But that was great basketball last night. This roster is young. They have a nice mixture of veterans. And, oh, by the way, Scoot Henderson in game number 2, 12 points, 6 assists. He's playing more under control. He looks more confident, and, man, he looks fresh. Michael Holton made a great point last night that Scoot is going to have a major advantage the rest of the way because the majority of guys in the league who have been playing from the beginning of the year up until now, they've got the normal bumps and bruises and fatigue that comes from the crazy NBA schedule. But Scoot, he's fresh. It's like the start of the year for him. So he's going to have more energy and more of an ability to, really bring it, especially later in the games. And he just, man, he's fast too. Like when you see Scoot, we hadn't seen him in a while, right? And last night was the first time I saw him in person this year. So when you see him up close, you're like, oh, yeah. I'm quickly reminded, what is he now, 22 years of age? He just turned 22. Look at his body. And he's still developing and getting stronger. His shoulders chiseled from stone. He's got incredible quads. He's got a man's body. And, man, he is athletic. Really happy for him. And I felt bad for him with the hamstring injury because if you talk to anyone around the team, Scoot Henderson had a terrific offseason. Great summer. He had put in all the work that the team had requested. He was ready to go. And then he ripped up the hamstring and missed a significant period of time. But look at the versatility of this group now with the guys they have out there. And they're led by the ringleader, which is Denny Avdia, who once again displayed that all-star type ability, and we're going to see him this weekend. They honored all of the guys last night. Damian Lillard, who's going to be in the three-point competition. He's probably going to win the flipping thing. Denny Avdia, who made his first all-star game. And then Young Hansen and Donovan Clingan, along with those two, honored before the game last night for being participants in this weekend's all-star game. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm very happy with this group right now. I love watching these guys compete. That third quarter was freaking awesome last night, and I can't wait for the stretch run. We're going to have a chance to watch this team healthy, at full strength, playing their best basketball, entering the right time of the year as we get closer to the playoffs. And when you see the young talent that they've amassed and the players that are out there, it kind of makes the last few seasons of development and positioning for draft picks a little more worth it. So I'm pretty excited. Love what I saw last night. That third quarter was great. That is great basketball. 49 points in the quarter. And they also hit a season-high 22 threes. In the game, I know this is pretty obvious, but, man, it's much easier when you're hitting your threes, isn't it? And they were. They were spreading it around. Guys were knocking down shots, and Tamani Kamara was leading the way. Great basketball last night for the Blazers. They've won 3 straight after the 6-game slide. And the final stretch of 26 games sets up perfectly for this team. So I couldn't be happier. Now, on the show today, we'll have a little variety for you. Dave Deckhard from BlazersEdge.com is going to join us here in about 9 minutes. We'll get his take on what he saw last night. We will once again preview Blazers Edge Night, which is the most important night of the season. And we'll take a look at what he expects over the final 26 games and what he's looking for this weekend with Denny Avdia, Damian Lillard, and the rest of the group at All-Star Weekend. At 4:20, Alex Brink, former Coug, our college football and NFL insider from E4 Sports, is going to join us. We'll get his take on the Super Bowl, on Sam Darnold, what's next for Darnold, and what the Seahawks should be looking for as they find a replacement for Clint Kubiak as offensive coordinator, who's going to take the job with the Raiders. And it's painful because I love the Kubiak family. I love the Shanahan family because of their ties to Denver. But seeing Clint Kubiak with the silver and black is going to be painful. And then at 5:20, Lamar Hurd, who is pure gold, is going to join the show. We'll get his take on last night, on the team, what he expects over the final stretch. So we've got a good mixture. Also, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5 o'clock. Your chance to get tickets to an upcoming Trailblazers game, courtesy of me and your Portland Trailblazers. That sounds like a pretty good Tuesday to me. If you want to reach out to me, you've got a couple of different ways. 503-248-0620 is the telephone number. And if you want to reach out on the Rip City Radio text line, just do so at 88528. So there you have it. Dave Deckhard next. Alex Brink at 4:20. Lamar Hurd at 5:20. And then Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And it's each and every Tuesday. Why? Because I care about people, and I want to help people, and we're going to be able to do that. I also received a letter from someone I've never received a letter from before. And I saw the postage and where it came from. A card from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the first name that came across my mind was Brian No. Bino! He is from Fort Wayne, Indiana. But the handwriting did not look like Brian No's handwriting. So right away I looked at the return address, and it says Miss Darlene No, who is from Granger, Indiana. So I received a card from Brian No's mom that I will share with you as well. I've never met her. She's never met me, but she said she feels like she knows me, so she sent for me a card, which is pretty nice. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Dave Deckhard, BlazersEdge.com is coming up next. Love what I saw last night. That was awesome, man. It's kind of nice to show up at the arena and watch the Blazers kick somebody's ass in dominant fashion. That was Denny Avdia. Whew. I love you. I love Denny Avdia. I love you, Denny. Denny's awesome. Really like this group. Scoot Henderson. Whew. 22 years of age. Must be nice. Incredible quads. If I had a body like Scoot, I wouldn't wear pants ever. I would just walk around in the tightest Speedo that I could find and just let people observe me. He looks good. Really good. All right, Dave Deckhard's coming up next. Brendan Slaughter is here. I appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, the Blazers get today off. The team's traveling to Minneapolis. They'll take on the Timberwolves tomorrow, tip-off at 5. Blazer game day starts at 3. And they'll finish up the first half of the season Thursday. They'll be in Utah to meet the Jazz. The good thing is we know the Jazz will not play any of their good players in the fourth quarter before they enter All-Star Weekend. 26 games for the Blazers post All-Star break. And joining us right now to talk about the Blazers and Blazers Edge Night is the man behind BlazersEdge.com, my good friend Dave Deckhard. Dave, my brother, welcome to the show.
That was a heck of an exciting game last night.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I was thinking about this last night. That third quarter in particular, it's some of the best basketball I've seen from this group as a whole in several years. It was exquisite.
Yeah, it shows the top end of the team. Look, the Sixers have a lot of injured players. The Blazers know what that's like, of course. And the Sixers are also bad in the third quarter. So it wasn't totally unexpected, but it sure was nice to see the ceiling of this team. It's like getting a sports car and finally being able to open it up on the open road. Nice to know they can go that fast.
Oh, it was so great. I really enjoyed it. And a number of things jumped out at me. It's the first game I've seen Scoot in person. I was not at the game for his first game back, but even he played under control. And then when you see him, you forget it's like, oh, he's only 22. He's got a great body. And so I've been excited from what I've seen from Scoot in the first 2 games. What have you made of his 2 games back from the hamstring injury?
Well, first of all, you got to look at his predecessor. I mean, Denny Avdia has done a fantastic job, right? But Denny Avdia also pretty much leads the league in turnovers per game. That takes the pressure off of Scoot, right? Anything better than the worst, and he's good to go. He's also a more natural point guard. He's developed his 3-point shot. There's a lot of reason to be positive about him. Now, is he going to pan out? We still don't know that yet. But I think these injuries and the development of the rest of the team have taken Scoot out of that savior mode and put him into a developing player mode, which will be good for him, good for the team, and allow him the space to really become who he's going to be without all the pressure.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about Denny Avdia. The guy's like a walking triple-double right now. He missed 4 games. He came back last night, 26 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. He just looks comfortable in that role as the primary facilitator now and remains incredibly aggressive. I guess the thing that jumped out at me last night is that you could tell the rest helped him because he was moving much better than we had seen the previous couple of games before the break he took with the back.
Yeah, I mean, Denny trades on that speed and his ability to get by people. That's how he scores, but that's also how he draws all those fouls. Without that, he's not quite the same player. Although you've got to credit his vision, his mind. He's demonstrated another level to his court awareness this year that we hadn't seen in quite the same way prior. So kudos to him for that. But when he is with a full head of steam and the ball in his hands, he's a very, very dangerous player.
Well, the one thing that's cool for Blazer fans, this team's squarely in the play-in, and I looked at the remaining 26 games. Their schedule is very favorable down the stretch, so they're going to get a postseason taste this year, whether that's play-in or they actually make it into the top 8 and get a playoff series. What do you think that's going to do for this group, especially the young guys with no playoff experience?
Well, it'll give them practice. We don't want to oversell it because, frankly, they're going to make that play in because nobody behind them is going to try to catch up with them. So it's almost an automatic because of that. However, this team is completely inexperienced in the postseason except for their 2 veterans. They're also inexperienced together in those high-pressure situations. I mean, they've never been – maybe this is overstating it, but they've never been coached for a game or a matchup that really, really matters. That's happened 0 times in most of these players' lifetimes.
Yes.
Okay. Now you get a chance to do something. The hardest gap is from 0 to 1. Once you've got 1 under your belt, you can do 2, 3, and more. So it will be good for them in that sense. Whether they succeed or not, I don't know. What it means ultimately is almost nothing, no more than it would mean for any team in a 10th spot to try to make it into the 8th spot. But it is still good for them given their situation, and it's probably better for them than missing the playoffs in every way, but of course, obtaining that lottery pick.
We're talking to Dave Deckhard, BlazersEdge.com here on the Rip City Drive. We talked prior to the trade deadline. Neither one of us expected anything major to happen because the Blazers were in a position where they didn't have to make something happen. They did bring in Vit Krejci in exchange for Duop Reef, who was not going to be able to contribute the rest of the year, and a guy that shoots the 3 ball at over 42%. Overall, what did you think about the trade deadline for Joe Cronin?
You know, it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. You love the accumulation of 6'8" guys who can handle the ball, pass, and like you said, Krejci can shoot. So we're all good there. It kind of follows the type, maybe with a little less defense and a little more shooting, which is something the Blazers can use. What you look at is, okay, what does the future look like? What options do they have? And they have quite a few. Like I said, Denny can play at any of three positions because of his height and his skill set. Krejci can play at both guard positions. You've got players who are interchangeable between really the 1 and 3 spots in a way that Portland never has before. If they can bolster the bigger part of their lineup, then they actually have a really viable lineup in the modern NBA.
Yeah.
Look, the trend is everybody's going towards 6, 7 and up at every position, right? The Blazers have got that in the more difficult positions to get it in. Now all they need is a little more shoring up, maybe at the power forward spot, making sure they have a backup center who can play. And, you know, they can look at the rest of the league and say, we got something. We don't know if it's a championship team, but at least we're nothing to laugh at anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Now, looking ahead to the summertime, what are going to be some of the big questions for Cronin and his staff to address once the summertime hits?
I mean, there are a lot of them. You got possibilities of re-signing players. I don't anticipate that happening. One of the big ones is, what are you going to do about Denny's contract? He is on a declining contract. It's probably the best value contract in the NBA right now because he's making $3 to $5 million less every year his contract goes on, and he was only making slightly more than a mid-level exception amount to begin with. That's great, actually, for the Blazers right now, but obviously that can't continue. They've got to sign him long term, and he's worth a lot of money. The problem with doing that is there are cap rules that prevent that unless you create space. How are they going to do that? Are they going to trade away someone? Are they going to try to get, the room to do that? Do they let Denny get to unrestricted free agency in a couple of years and risk him going somewhere else? That will be a huge puzzle to solve. After that, I think that they are pretty much okay. Their key players are signed up for multiple years. The guys that they would let go, Robert Williams III, Matisse Thybulle, probably are nice players but not critical players. So they're set up except for that big Denny question. And how they solve that, well, it might take a magic trick or two. The other thing is, of course, can you consolidate some of these pretty good players into at least one very, very good player to play beside Denny? If they could do that, that would be item number 2.
All right, that's great. Now, with the All-Star Weekend coming up, we have Dame, who's going to participate in the three-point competition, Young Hansen and Donovan Clingan, part of the Rising Stars, and Denny in the All-Star game. What are you going to pay attention to the most this weekend?
I mean, it's got to be Dame, right? Just for the curiosity factor. And seeing him do anything on the court, especially in a Blazers uniform, is going to be like a jolt of electricity, right?
Yep.
So the emotional weight is there. How much Denny will get to play, it's nice that we have 3 teams and we have the world team here. He certainly will get more minutes and reps than he would have in a traditional 2-team format. But you never know. These all-star games are wacky, especially nowadays. Whether he'll get shots, minutes, be a facilitator, it's not likely. Look, if your name isn't Giannis or LeBron or someone like that, traditionally in these games, you don't get a lot of shots, but it'll still be nice to see him out there. I think those are the 2 obvious bright points. But, hey, Portland Trail Blazers in this midseason exhibition at all is a step forward, and I think the Blazer fans should just go with that.
Who do you think is the main challenger to Oklahoma City this year?
Is there one?
I don't think so.
It's kind of a legit question. They are on a level above everyone else. Now, some injuries and some midseason blahs have taken them back a step. I think San Antonio could claim that, hey, we've beaten these guys at least in the regular season. And if Wembanyama is healthy, we've got a position and a player that they can't counter. I think that's valid, so I think you'd name them. You always think Denver is dangerous because of Jokic, naturally. I'm not sure anyone in the East has more than a puncher's chance because it's one one playoff series and anything can happen. So I'd say San Antonio, Denver, and then, the whole rest of the field would have trouble catching up to them other than those two teams.
Well, maybe that's a better way to ask the question. Who poses a bigger threat, the Spurs or the Nuggets to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I think specifically to the Thunder, it's probably the Spurs because they have that combination of unstoppable players. They have players across the board, especially if Aaron Gordon is dicey. The Nuggets don't go as deep and they don't go as wide.
Yeah.
So I think Jokic is still a better player, obviously, but he doesn't play as fast, and the Thunder defense can probably cope with him more than they can cope with a healthy, vibrant, fast Wembanyama plus all the young players around him.
Yeah, it's too bad to see Aaron Gordon nicked up because I've been impressed with his development over the last year in terms of becoming an even better player, a big shot maker. And, of course, I think he's a really good he knows how to play next to Jokic. He's become a really good basketball player.
Yeah, back in the day when he was traded to Denver, we were hot on him on site. Like, if the Blazers could make this move, that might be transformational. Unfortunately, he went elsewhere, and it was meant to be. They won a championship that way. You can't argue with that. Yeah. But, boy, I would have loved him in a Portland uniform about 5 years ago.
No question about it. All right. It's time to talk about the biggest night coming up. It's March 10th. The Hornets are going to be in town. It's Blazers Edge night. And it's an opportunity for Rip City to participate in something that's special. And that's something that you put together with your site many years ago, where the community has a chance to send underprivileged youth to their very first basketball game. And you get a number of requests throughout the course of the year to be able to participate in this night from educators, don't you?
Yeah, it's a near perfect system. People who in underserved communities with kids who have a tough time sometimes even getting to school, let alone getting anywhere else. They write into us and they tell us their stories. We have these kids that do this or that. They've worked hard all year. We have no way to reward them that's meaningful, but the Blazers would be like a dream. They talk about basketball. They love these players. They never have a chance to go. They can't get there maybe financially, but also the infrastructure of their lives. They can't get transportation. They don't have adults who will go because their parents can't get off work or whatever it is, right? And they say, it would be a dream if we could take a couple of them. And we say, don't take a couple of them, take all of them. We send classrooms. We send sports teams. We hear from counselors and principals. They all write in saying, could we go this year because my kids would love it? We want to tell them yes. We end up sending a couple thousand kids every year. We are in the tens of thousands over the lifetime of the event. And it's a miraculous, wonderful thing every season, but it only works if people donate tickets. The Blazers set aside most of the upper deck for us for this event. There's a website. If you go to blazersedge.com, or Chad will probably tweet it out, there's a link that you buy directly from the Blazers. We don't touch those tickets. We don't touch the money. You're buying from the Blazers, but instead of the tickets going to you, they go into the pool for this event. We get those tickets to the adults who are taking those kids, and voila, they show up on March 10th, free and easy, without any complication, without any overhead, and they get to go to the game. We are about a week away from the end of donations, and we have 1,000 tickets still undonated. So we need help now in order to fulfill all our requests. Tickets start at $13. They go up to $24. For that price, you can change a life, and we hope that people will do it.
What is the deadline for purchasing tickets?
It's a little bit soft, but it's mid next week. We're in negotiations now. And the reason is the game is coming up. I mean, we have to allot those tickets and tell the adults that they can go so that they can begin to make transportation plans and stuff. So we can't go beyond next week.
All right. To my listeners out there, I'm going to put the link on all of my social media accounts, Facebook, X, Instagram, everything. So if you want a link to the website, do it. Tickets, as Dave said, as low as $13 up to $24. It doesn't matter whether you buy one ticket or several tickets. Every ticket is going to send a child to an NBA game, which is awesome. Or you can just go to blazersedge.com, and that story that Dave wrote is at the top of the page, and you can click on that story, and the link is very easy to see in the story. It's bolded out in black. You click on that, and it will take you straight to the Blazers site to buy tickets, and we have 1,000 tickets to go. around a week left to be able to get that done. So let's jump on this, my friends, and take care of these kids. And Dave and I can attest to this. And the reason why I love the night is because I remember what it was like when my dad took me to my first NBA game and seeing kids walk into the Arena Bowl for the first time and their eyes light up, Dave. There's nothing like it.
Absolutely true. And for the adults who get to take them, they get to see these children in a new way, happy and carefree and celebrating the way they never get to do in school or sometimes even at home. It is a literally year-changing and life-changing moment, and we love being able to participate in it.
So basically what we're saying is for the price of a extra large latte in the morning or a frost brewed Coors Light at the Blazer game, you can send a child to an NBA game. So let's jump on this. Blazers Edge Night coming up on the 10th of March. The Hornets are going to be in town. I'll put out the link on my socials. You can go to blazersedge.com. Dave Deckhard is with us. Well, Dave, I tell you what, thank you for your time. We'll continue to push for Blazers Edge Night and enjoy All-Star Weekend, my friend.
Thank you. We're going to try. Let's hope for a couple more wins before that, and things will be looking sunny for the end of the season.
Yes, yes, yes. There you go. Dave Deckhard, blazersedge.com here on the show. Yeah, because think about $13. All right, let's think about this. Think about how easy it is to spend $13. I bought a 5-shot Americano this morning, and it cost me over $6. 2 days worth of caffeine, and I'm sending a kid to a Blazer game. So just jump on it. Go to blazersedge.com right now. You'll find the story and click on the link and buy tickets. Just buy one. Just buy one $13 ticket, and you're going to send a kid to the game. It's that easy. It's that simple. And it's cool because these are kids who are underserved. And I've seen them roll into Moto before and see their eyes light up. And it's awesome. The first NBA game I went to, I was like, I have seen the top of the mountain, and it is good. I couldn't believe how awesome it was. Very first NBA experience with Alex English and Michael Adams and Fat Lever. I was like, give me some more of this. Thank you, Pops. $13 to $24. We got about a week left. There's 1,000 tickets left to make this happen. We got to get this done. All right, so get on it. Let's. Well, what do I always talk about? I want to help people. I know that many of you want to help people, but the best part here is that we're helping kids. And sometimes helping kids is even better than helping adults. All right, 503-248-0620. Alex Brink is coming up at 4:20, and then Lamar Hurd at 5:20. It's a very good day. And I did not expect sunshine today, but I'm looking out the window here in our iHeart offices. I see blue skies and sunshine. That makes me very happy, too. I like sun. I like good weather. And I like very good basketball like we saw last night when the Blazers smoked the Sixers. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. Appreciate your time. Alex Brink talking Super Bowl at 4:20. This song right here is in my top 5 songs of all time. And as I mentioned before, no one cares what I think or what I desire. But the halftime show would have been much better with Phil Collins and Philip Bailey than it was Bad Bunny. But again, the NFL does not care what I want or what I think because I am hooked for life. I will watch football regardless of what they put on at halftime. I'll watch the Super Bowl for the rest of my life regardless of what they put on at halftime. There's nothing they could do to push me away from the Denver Broncos. I'm in. There just comes a point in your life where you're like, I'm committed through thick and through thin, no matter what. Unless you hire Josh McDaniels again, then I will boycott the team. But outside of that, I'm hooked for life. I love football, and so do you. So I get it. I understand. But my wheelhouse is my wheelhouse. And I did a little, like survey of my friends, the people I hang with. And you can probably relate to this. Most of you have a wheelhouse of music that you listen to, and you probably listen to music that is within a certain time frame. Like for me, I think it's somewhere between 65 up to about 91. And most people fit into that range based on what you grew up with, your musical influences. I think a lot of times what our parents listened to when we were younger had some influence on us. And the new music just doesn't do it for me. But every generation says this. And I get that. So there you have it. Not into Bad Bunny. And by the way, Kid Rock sucks too. Don't like his music. They all suck, in my opinion. But there are a lot of people like, well, Chad, Bad Bunny speaks to me. There was a vibe. I didn't feel the vibe. And as I mentioned before, I'm not a lyric guy because most of the time I have no idea what the artists are singing about. There's times where I thought it was one thing and then come to find out they're saying something else. So I'm not moved by lyrics. I'm just not. I like what the song sounds like. So there you have it. That's my takeaway there. Big thanks to Dave Deckhard from BlazersEdge.com coming on. Blazers Edge night is an important night. And look, I know that dollars, they're tight for all of us, right? Gas prices are absurd. Inflation, taxes, you name it. We're all dealing with that. But we're talking about $13. One ticket, $13. I challenge all of you to go to BlazersEdge.com or pull up my X account, click on the link, and buy a ticket. One ticket, $13. I'm not asking you to buy all 1,000 that are remaining to get to the kids. Buy one ticket. Most of you, including myself, can afford $13. So buy a ticket, send a kid that otherwise would not be able to go to the game. The underserved youth. And as Dave said, it means a lot to them, to the educators, and for them to have the experience. And these are kids that outside of us stepping up to make it happen, they're not going to a Blazers game. They're not. Let me just put it this way. I would not be taking my family to a Blazers game if I did not have access to tickets. It's expensive, right? Life is expensive, but $13, that's something that's manageable. Tickets range from $13 to $24. You can buy as many as you want, and they're going straight to the kids. So there you have it. That's Blazers Edge night, and they do it each and every night. It's a community thing that started with BlazersEdge.com, and Dave Deckhard is a big Blazer fan. He's a minister. He cares about people. He cares about the kids and the Blazers Edge community. Clint Kubiak is the new head coach of the Raiders, and I have been critical of the Raiders organization for many years. And don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Al Davis is one of the most important figures in the history of the NFL. He was critical in the merger between the AFL and the NFL. He was a great football mind. He was a terrific coach. He was a great talent evaluator. And he was someone that did a great job of owning and leading the Raiders franchise. Well, the Raiders franchise has not experienced greatness in a long period of time. They have not won a Super Bowl since I was 9 years old. Long time ago. But they talk a big game. Their fans and the franchise about the commitment to excellence, the greatness of the Raiders, all that nonsense. And they've been garbage for a long period of time. But I still have a lot of respect for Al Davis and what he meant for the NFL that we see today, an innovative mind. And let me just give you an example of how sharp Al Davis was back in his heyday. So who is the player? Former Oregon Duck Anthony Newman. Anthony Q Newman. He was a terrific college player and a very good NFL player. Anthony Newman is legit. Big time hitter, tough. He was awesome. Well, he ended up playing for the Raiders during his career. And this is pretty interesting, but anyone that played for Al Davis, and I know this from talking to players who did, and of course I spent a few years down in the Bay Area, and our station carried the Raiders. And so I had a chance to meet a lot of ex-guys. One thing that everyone knew about Al Davis is that he wore, and we all know this guy because we all have this friend or family member in our life. He wore copious amounts of cologne. I don't know the exact brand. I think it may have been Polo, but I can't say that I know that for sure because, the stories have been told so much. But anyways, he wore a heavy cologne. My papa did too. Old Spice, to the point where it's like a little Old Spice. Maybe that's okay, papa, but you should not be dousing yourself in the Old Spice. He also used copious amounts of Vitalis hair oil on his dome too. Anyways, we all know that person. It's like, can you maybe go a little less cologne or perfume? Well, anyways, Anthony Newman told me that that you could smell Al Davis coming down the hallway. Like he could be off in the distance. You can't see him, but you could smell him. And he said he's out on the practice field one day, and the team had just broken up for to meet in their position groups on the practice field. And Al Davis was like, "Hey, Anthony, I want to talk to you." And so Anthony's like, "Oh, man, what do I do? Do I head to my position group? My position coach is going to yell at me, or do I talk to Al?" Well, he made the right choice. He decided to talk to Al, the owner of the Raiders. And Al asked him, he said, "Anthony, I was wondering, why did you switch from halfback to defense when you were in high school?" And Newman told me that he was just blown away that Al Davis knew that much about him and his high school career and the switch from offense to defense. So the Raiders have been, at one time, were great, and they've fallen upon hard times. But I'll tell you what, getting Brady involved, probably not a bad idea. They finally, I think, have gotten the coaching hire right. Now, again, Clint Kubiak's got to prove that he can handle all that's involved in being a head coach. But to get Kubiak, who's a part of the Shanahan tree, critical, and they have the number one pick in the draft, so you assume that's going to be Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. And so if those two guys hit and you get the coach and quarterback situation settled, that could set them up for the comeback train to get back on track and become a viable franchise once again. They've got a great stadium. They're in a great city in Las Vegas, but they have fallen upon hard times with poor leadership. But I think now they've got a chance to come out of that. Clint Kubiak from the right tree with the right quarterback, an accurate guy, smart guy, and Fernando Mendoza, who would appear to be someone you would want as a cornerstone of your franchise. Time will tell, but you got to like it. If you're a Raiders fan, as bad as it's been, you have to feel some optimism for the direction of the franchise right now. Okay, we'll keep things rolling. Alex Brink coming up at 4:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, 4 o'clock. How about them Blazers on fire last night with a big win over the Sixers? They put up 49 points in the third quarter, outscored Philly by 27 points. The 49 points in the third, one shy of the franchise record for points in a quarter. Portland has won 3 straight. A career-high 30 points for Toumani Camara. He also hit a career-high 8 threes in the game. He was 10 of 12 shooting for the night. The Blazers now 2 games under 500, 26-28 on this season. They have 2 games remaining before the All-Star break. They'll be in Minnesota tomorrow to take on the Timberwolves. That tip-off at 5. Blazers game day with Chris Burkhardt at 3. Thursday in Utah to meet the Jazz with a tip-off of 6 o'clock. All-Star weekend, Damian Lillard will participate in the three-point shooting contest. Young Hansen and Donovan Clingan, part of the Rising Stars Challenge, and Denny Avdia in his very first All-Star game. We'll talk with Alex Brink coming up at 4:20. You know, a lot of times when it comes to news or things that might be breaking or might be public knowledge in the near future, you know, when you're around a team or a situation a lot, you might hear whispers or rumblings of something. But I was caught off guard by the Damian Lillard news. I hadn't heard a darn peep about him participating in the three-point competition. And Casey Holdaw, the Trailblazers insider and reporter, told me that there were a lot of people around the team that were surprised at the news. And so I got to thinking about that. And, you know, my read on the situation without having talked to Dame about it, I don't think this is a difficult one to figure out. I know from my conversations with him dating back to media day before the season began, like, it is killing him, literally killing him. Part of him is dying on the inside because he can't play basketball this year. Like, he hates it. And it makes sense, right? Guys who are ultra competitive, big time athletes who don't have an opportunity to play the game that they love to play. And then you add in the competition, the desire to compete and to just get out there and be amongst the guys on the floor. He hates it. It's driving him insane. And so I think what this is that, you know, he's on this pathway to recovery and he's basically healthy now. And I've seen him before games doing vigorous workouts. So it's not like he's sitting around doing nothing. Like, he is working really hard. And he's been putting in some vigorous workouts on the floor. We've been seeing him before games put up a number of shots. Like, he's in that mode now where he's fine-tuning and he's getting closer to 100%. But I guess what this probably is a situation where once he knew it was an opportunity or that the opportunity was available and he could participate in the three-point shooting contest, he's like, I'm in. Anything to compete, anything to get those competitive juices flowing, I just want a taste of something. And so this is a way probably for him to be able to satisfy some of that competitive desire. And we know Dame, he's going to go down there with the intent to win that darn thing. And so I haven't been this excited about a three-point competition in a long time. It's going to be great to be able to watch him compete when he's not even making himself available to play this year because of the Achilles injury. I just am happy for him to have a chance to get out there, measure himself against some of the best, and be in a competition he's won a couple of times before. So, yeah, do I think Dame's probably going to win? Absolutely. Do I think Dame is going to go down there with the intent to win the three-point competition? Absolutely. And I'm excited for him because he gets a chance to compete on some level because it's killing him. It's driving him mad. And you know what's happening now? He's looking at the team, and imagine Dame. He's like, man, when I was here before, we didn't have a guy like Toumani Camara. I didn't have a guy like Denny Avdia. I didn't have a guy like Drew Holiday. Like, there's so many guys on the roster now that he's looking at thinking, man, I can play with these guys. And it's going to be fascinating to watch next year to see the next version of Dame and whatever that looks like. Is he going to be able to play and be a part of the team with the understanding that he doesn't have to be the man anymore? Like, is he going to recognize that and understand that and be able to, you know, find a way to mix in and blend in perfectly? My thought would be yes, because Dame's a smart basketball player. He doesn't have to carry the team now. He doesn't have to be that guy. It's going to take pressure off of him. And there's going to be nights where he can lean on those other guys to really be the key. And I think it could, if he's willing to embrace this role and allow Denny to do what he does and the other key young players, it could set Dame up to be a marksman and a very effective player at this stage in his career at 36 years of age. Because the defense is going to have to pay attention to guys like Denny Avdia. And that's going to create openings for guys like Dame. Like, he could become a lethal three-point shooter and a guy that has that gravity, much like Tiago Splitter was saying about Vit Krejci. See, certain guys went on the floor because they're so good from distance. You got to honor it or they'll kill you. Gravity, meaning they're going to draw defenders out to them beyond the arc, and that's going to open up the floor for other players. Guys like Denny Avdia to do what he does, which is attack the rim fearlessly, or Scoot Henderson. So I'm excited about that. But for Dame, obviously we all love Dame because he's cool. Dame is super cool. Dame he means everything to this city and Rip City and the team. And so we want what's best for him. So it's great that he's going to be able to go down there and compete. And I hope he wins because that would be a great story. But most importantly, just for him to have the opportunity to be out there and get those competitive juices flowing, like, it's going to mean a lot to him because he's jonesing right now. He's close. He knows he's close to a return. And then I think we all wonder, too, like we saw the news about Jason Tatum. He's coming off the same injury that I get it mixed up. I think it may have happened like a month after Dame's injury. They were closely related, but I think Tatum's came after. So he's already working out with the Celtics G League team. So my guess would be that Tatum's planning on a return. So I had people wondering last night, like, is Dame going to play? And I said, no, he shut down that idea before the year began. And probably smart. Tatum's younger. Dame's 36. There's no need to rush back. Take your time. Be patient to the best of your abilities. And it's hard for these guys who compete at a high level to be patient. But be patient, and when you come back, you can be at 100%, make sure your body's right, and that you're not going to be compromised. So that's really what I size this up as. Dame's jonesing to compete. He wants to play. He can't play this year. And so this is an opportunity for him to have a moment to be able to get off and compete against some of the guys in the NBA. It's good for him. And for Dame, it's great because he's going to represent Portland. He's super cool. People love Dame, and the guy can shoot the three ball. And he's won the competition 2 times before. So there you have it. Might not be as cool as Larry Bird putting up the money ball and then extending the finger up in the air to show that he's number one, walking to the winner's circle before the ball drops through the hoop, but it will be close. But I would say that is again, All-Star Weekend is different to me now because of what I grew up with. And I don't want to be a hater. I'm just saying that my first exposure was guys like Dominique and MJ in the dunk contest with Clyde Drexler, Dr. J, Spud Webb. Phenomenal dunk contest. And then I had Larry Bird in the three-point shooting contest. So I had the best of the best when I was young. And so anything after that, it's going to be tough for guys to top that. There's been a few that have been really good. I mentioned it yesterday. Someone posted a picture of the anniversary of the D. Brown dunk contest that he won when he was with the Celtics. And that's when he was wearing the Reebok pumps. It's hard to remember these days, but there was actually a time when Reebok was cool. But the pump shoes that D. Brown wore with the Reeboks, where he was pumping up his shoes before he dunked, was amazing. And then he won the contest with the blind dunk. So there you have it. So Dame will be in the three-point shooting contest. I'm happy for him because he's just jonesing to get a taste of competition because he's been out for quite some time. And for a guy like that that's been available and has played big minutes throughout the course of his career to have a situation where he can't play, it's killing him. He hates it. It's like, no! So we'll see how it works. For Denny Avdia, I'm just happy for him because of what it means for him to be in the All-Star game because he's representing an entire country. The large pockets of Jewish people in the United States, all of his people back home in Israel. He's playing for an entire country. So it means a lot to him because he is more than happy to carry that torch and represent Israel. And I think it's awesome. What a great opportunity for him. And Denny's a very likable guy. And Denny's a great player. And I can't believe the Blazers got him for what they got him for. And Dave Deckhard's right. Denny Avdia is on the best value contract in the NBA. where his numbers, his dollars, they're less with each progressive year. I'm not sure how he signed that deal. I can't believe the Blazers got him on that deal. But Denny Avdia is an all-star who's playing for peanuts, comparatively speaking. It's mind-boggling. And how dumb is Washington, too? Thank you, Wizards. Thank you for continuing to run your organization with foolishness and providing the Blazers with a budding superstar. But Denny Avdia, like last night, man, you could tell he was feeling well. But, man, when he attacks the rim, there's a certain anger and aggression that he attacks with. It's like, are you kidding me? And, yes, I did see the fight last night in the Hornets game. And no one likes me saying this, but I actually enjoy fights in the NBA because that's what I grew up with. Again, tainted by my past. I grew up in a day and age where guys fought and threw punches all the time. And David Stern knew that that was probably not the best thing for the league, so he weeded that stuff out quickly. But I grew up in a day and age where guys would take swings at one another, hard fouls, intentional fouls, stuff that would light up social media all day today was just commonplace back in the day, in the late 80s and early 90s. What's up, Brendan?
What's going on, Chad? No, I wanted to jump in here because that fight that you're talking about yesterday, it lit up the group chat between me and my brothers, and they're both younger than I am. One's 17, one's 20. And to your point, we're way too young to know, other than video, what you were talking about, where it used to be kind of like, hey, hockey light, right? And we just kind of talked about the play, and we talked about how the fans were like into it. Like they were into it there at Charlotte. And, obviously you never want a guy to get hurt or anything like that. But I don't know, maybe a little physicality, a little rough around the edges. I didn't mind seeing it. Obviously you don't want no one to get broken jaw or something like that. But being a little physical, I didn't mind it.
Hornets and Pistons really got into it last night. I mean, it was kind of old school. Very old school in terms of how those guys were approaching one another. It's not too often in the NBA today where you see guys looking to take swings on one another. Look, I understand it. You can't have the reason why you can't have these guys fighting is because we saw what happened in the Malice at the Palace.
Very true.
It can spill over into the stands and it becomes a big nightmare. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm not taken back or, freaked out by guys doing it because I grew up with that. It's not too often you see guys with blood on their face either. Amazing. Yep. Jeez. Probably the most memorable fight of all time that I saw was Robert Parrish in a playoff series literally punching out Bill Laimbeer, and nothing was done about it. They just played on. And the officials were like, well, they kind of had it coming because of the stuff that happened in the previous game. Ask when he came to was, did I get him tossed? Laimbeer was trying to get Robert Parrish tossed, and he knew by, being dirty the way he was and getting him to lose his mind might get that job done, but it did not. It's just a different league now. What was it that Michael Holton said last night? You want to play with emotion, but don't get emotional. Wow, crazy. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Alex Brink, former Coug, E4 Sports, our college football and NFL insiders coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the Super Bowl and, what's next for Darnold now that he's a Super Bowl champion. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, Rip City Drive, very happy to welcome in our college football and NFL insider from E4 Sports. I'm talking about former Washington State Cougar Alex Brink, who is on the show once again. And, Alex, before we get to the game, I know you had your own little party. It was you and your two sons, and you had a chance to watch the game family style. How did it go?
Oh, it's the best, man. You know, again, Xander, he's just about to turn 6. He's really locked in. He told me, Dad, I'm cheering for both teams. He likes Drake May, but obviously he knows the Seahawks are kind of the backyard team, and he got a lot of friends that are Seahawks fans. So, you know, it was all good. We got to, in the end, everybody won because the Seahawks won, and we got to enjoy the whole thing. It was awesome.
Gosh, that's so good. It was such a bizarre game because it played out a lot in the way that we thought it would, where the Seahawks were able to provide pressure from the start until the finish. So what jumped out at you in terms of how the Seahawks defense attacked the Patriots from the get-go?
Well, it's been the playbook all year, and it's the playbook in the NFL if you get it right. You know, the Philadelphia Eagles have been like this at times the past few years also. If you can play with 2 high safeties and defend the run with 5 or 6 guys in the box, it's going to be really difficult to move the football consistently, right? Because you can't push the ball vertically. There's too many guys deep. The front 4, in this case, particularly for the Seahawks, is so dominant. And then you start mixing in blitz packages on long downs, things like that, and you just start, feeling like it's coming from all angles. And that's really what Drake May experienced. You know, a young quarterback in a big game, he needs a running game to lean on. And, the Seahawks were just too good up front compared to the Patriots.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you because Josh McDaniels has got a lot of experience coordinating, and he's been in big moments both in the playoffs and the Super Bowl, but it never seemed like he had an answer for the pressure. So are there just moments where no matter what you draw up, there is no answer because you don't have the personnel to deal with what you're facing?
Yeah, basically. I mean, at some point, the guys across you from you are just better, right? So no matter how you scheme it up, it's not gonna happen. I think about how I saw Kyle Shanahan was, kind of on some of the coverage of the game on the networks, and he was talking about they were asking him, right, what would he do versus the Seahawks? And at one point he's like, "Look, I don't really have a good answer for you because I couldn't score any points against them either." You know what I mean? And it makes you wonder how good were the Los Angeles Rams that Matthew Stafford could put up as many points as they did, and Sean McVay.
Yeah.
They were about the only ones that do it, it felt like, consistently all year.
The one thing I appreciated about Drake May, and I think you mentioned this before we started the conversation, you could see it in his eyes early on that he knew he was in trouble. But I like the way he continued to battle. Like, he really struggled and got the crap beat out of him, but I felt like he never completely gave up. Like, he was still out there slinging it, trying to make things happen.
I love the end of the game, right? He just started trying to take the top off, throwing it up to Hollins and Stephon Diggs and see if one of those guys could make a play. I mean, yeah, he stood in there. Again, it's a tough situation to be in. I mean, some days that's just not in the cards, and it's difficult when it's in the biggest game of the year for sure. But again, think about the strides that Drake May made from year 1 to year 2. The strides, obviously, that the Patriots made under Mike Vrabel. The best, in my opinion, the best years are ahead of Drake May and the Patriots. And so, I think they got a lot to look forward to. It's probably a good experience for them to go through this.
All right, we've talked about Sam Darnold at length on this show because you've been around him. You worked with him at Elite 11. You speak very highly of him, his character, and the way that he persevered through both his stops with the Jets and the Panthers to get to where he's at now and never lost confidence. What did you make of his performance and the way he managed that game on Sunday?
It was perfect, right? He knew what the assignment was, which was to protect the football, not try and do too much, let the defense, lean on the defense, let them get the field position. Ultimately they force a turnover for points. And so it worked out exactly like you think it would. And when you got a solid running game, I just thought he did a really nice job kind of managing. Look, because the Patriots defense has been playing great too. And their front 7 is also really good and can create pressure. And I thought Darnold did a really nice job staying patient in the pocket. You notice lots of times he kind of worked through his first and second read, but knew exactly where his check down was and was able to get the ball in his hands without taking a sack. And you saw some pretty decent chunk plays just on checkdowns because of how crafty he was in the pocket.
It's great, too. I've learned this from you and from watching football, that sometimes being the best quarterback is about making the right decision, and that can come in a variety of different ways, meaning I'm not going to force the ball into difficult situations. I may take a sack and live to play another down or just throw the football away. And I think the recognition, like you mentioned, of knowing what you have around you and that your defense is probably not going to be scored upon, and realizing that and just playing the game that's in front of you, you can do that and be the best quarterback on the field. I love it.
Yeah, and you saw early on. I mean, he took some risks, took some chances, and then it was like at one point in kind of the mid-second quarter, I kind of feel like he was like, all right, we've kicked a few field goals. Defense is playing great. I just need to make sure the field position game is, in our favor. And, we're probably going to win the football game. And that's exactly what happened. And so I thought it was great complimentary football. I mean, how good was the special teams? The punting unit was awesome. Obviously, they hit Myers, kicking field goals consistently. I mean, I thought, it was they really dominated in all three phases. And I know it wasn't pretty, and a lot of people don't sign up to watch a Super Bowl like that. But that was a really well-played football game by the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I do give Mike Vrabel some credit. I thought he had his defense well prepared for that game. And, they kept giving that offense chance after chance after chance by limiting the Seahawks to field goals. And I just thought they put a lot of pressure on Darnold and really did a good job of limiting the run game until later on in that third and fourth quarter. But, I guess they just cracked. But I thought Vrabel had his guys ready.
He definitely did. And you kind of heard him, right, going in at halftime. He was like, hey, our defense is playing great. We need the offense to step up. I mean, when you hold the Seahawks to field goals when they get inside the 10 and 15-yard line multiple times, as a defensive-minded head coach, you're in the back of your head, you're like, that's all we can do, right? And so I'm sure it was frustrating to some degree. I thought he probably did a nice job in the end, just making sure that the praise was distributed to the Seahawks sideline, because I can imagine there was some frustration where offensively, if you can just get, and they kind of did, right? They got the big play, to get on the board, and it was like, well, they're back in it because Seahawks couldn't execute in the red zone, and so it wouldn't have taken them that much if they could just find a little bit more offensive production. But yeah, I thought Vrabel had the team ready to play. They just frankly didn't have the horses.
We're talking to Alex Brink, former Coug, now with E4 Sports, our college football and NFL insider. I'm wondering with Sam Darnold, now that he's had back-to-back great years, he's coming off a Super Bowl. He's kind of got that monkey off of his back and established himself as one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. How do you think he's going to respond to that success? Do you think it will help him? He'll play with more confidence? Like, what do you see from him moving forward now that he's entrenched there in Seattle?
Yeah, I would envision, him to continue to play really well. I guess the X factor, right, is that Clint Kubiak's moving on, and Kubiak is, as good as there is offensively in the league. Comes from obviously the same tree as Shanahan and McVay, and was with Kevin O'Connell and in Minnesota, and that's where him and Darnold cross paths. So I think that would be my concern potentially, is how does that transition happen? But you got a young core with Walker and Jackson Smith and Jigba. You have some other, young receivers you can start building in. Tight ends came on late. So offensively, right, it seems like the Seahawks are in a really good place moving forward. And obviously they're great defensively. So they've probably got another couple of years, before contracts start catching up with them at other positions, that they can continue to make a run.
Yeah, no question. John Schneider's done a great job of supplying that team with young talent. So with the search for a new offensive coordinator and knowing what you know about Sam Darnold, how do you expect that process to play out in terms of what they're looking for? Do you try to identify someone that maybe comes from that tree, or someone that you think matches Darnold's skill set? Like, how do you think they'll go about finding the right fit with Darnold?
I would imagine they're going to go out and find, the next guy in that tree, because that's what, the two seasons between Minnesota and then here in Seattle. I mean, those are the two best seasons Sam Darnold has had, is in that system. And it's proven across the league that it's the best system for quarterbacks. So, I think you go find, the next young up-and-coming guy that can execute that system. I don't know specifically who that is. I'm sure there's 3 or 4 of them that could do it. And so I think that's the way you attack it, and make sure that, obviously Darnold feels good about it too.
Now, don't forget, Cooper Kupp is a E-Force athlete himself. He just wins a championship at this stage in his career. How happy were you for Cooper to see him go out there and, reach the top of the mountain in the NFL?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously we worked really closely with Coop in the lead up to his Super Bowl MVP year when he was living here in the Portland area. And, after that, obviously, he had some challenges with injuries and trying to find his place in LA, and it was just the weirdest thing to some degree. And I thought he's shown a ton of resilience, right, in his time post kind of Super Bowl MVP and the year he had when he was with the Rams, and to be able to bounce back and get this opportunity, I think for him, there's a level of vindication that, like, hey, I still got it. I'm still productive. He was a key part of that team in a little bit of a different role maybe than obviously before, but still very effective and mattered down the stretch. And, some of those veterans, right, on that Seahawks team, those guys, I think, are the glue that really helped bring the young guys along to make them understand what it takes to win at a high level late in the year and those sort of things. So could have been happier for Coop. I mean, he's earned it. He's obviously, one of the best in the league, one of the best ever, and honored to have been a part of it at one point in his career.
That's pretty awesome. Now, Alex, I don't know how this process plays out, but of course you work with a lot of these quarterbacks. So now that the season is over, what is the process for a quarterback going into the offseason to do all the things that are necessary to come back and be a better player? Do they go through and break down every play, every throw through from the previous season? Like, what's the normal process for how a quarterback will assess the previous season as they get ready for the offseason of work?
Yeah, it's I think every guy has a different process. There's certainly an element of taking some time off. I cannot begin to describe to you the weight, both mentally and physically, that a football season can put on you. And so being able to take some time and, kind of recover a little bit is really important. And then, when you start getting back into it, you do break down the tape and see kind of where maybe you had some inefficiencies or flaws, things that caught up with you where you can add to it. But, especially guys late in their career, they kind of know who they are, and they want to, they want to lean into strengths more than focus too much on weaknesses. Because obviously, a guy like Sam Darnold, I mean, gosh, like he's already there, right? And so, I think for him, it's continuing that confidence, building the rapport with your guys. In the offseason, a lot of times what you do is, you spend time, you'll invite your receiver, wherever you make your home base, right? You'll invite your receivers out or new guys out and start to build that team chemistry. So, a lot of that at that stage, in my opinion, is probably where those guys see a lot of the benefit.
All right. And for you, now at eForce, you guys focus on many different types of athletes with different programs. Are you football specific, or do you dip into other sports at eForce?
Yeah, we got all sorts of sports. We really view, young athlete development as a holistic approach, right? Multi-sport is always the best approach. And so the center of what we do is our sport, our strength and speed training, our sports performance. But we do all sorts of sports, and baseball is a big part of that also. We really pride ourselves in our baseball development. 2 facilities here in the metro area, one in Beaverton, one over in Milwaukee with cages. We have lesson times for pitching, hitting, and fielding. Great instructors that played or coached at a high level. We also offer camps. We have camp coming up on President's Day, hitting camp over in Beaverton. So all sorts of opportunities if you got a young baseball athlete in your life to continue to improve this offseason as we quickly head into spring and the start of baseball season.
Hey, I ran into Chris Miller the other day, and we were talking about his opportunity. He's going to be a coach.
Mill.
That's right, up in Canada with the Toronto Argonauts, which I think is great. And I know he's excited about the opportunity. Have you been approached about coaching before? And if so, what are your thoughts on getting involved in the coaching game?
Oh, my goodness. Hope my wife's not listening. Yes, I have been approached to get into coaching for sure. It is one of those things, in all honesty, where it's a hard life, right, for everybody involved. And I love coaching football. I love, coaching young people. But at the professional and college level, obviously, I mean, it is such a commitment. And so, I've kindly turned down some opportunities that I've had. I'll entertain them as they come in and see what the fit is. But I think for me, being able to impact young athletes through eForce and, coaching quarterbacks through Elite 11, that really allows me to make the impact I want. If down the road opportunities present themselves as my kids get out of high school and things like that, I may entertain the idea of getting into coaching at a higher level. But, right now I'm happy where I'm at.
Okay. I don't want to get you in trouble, but let me ask you this. What is on the coaching game, what's appealing to you? Would it be a quarterback coach where you're working specific to quarterbacks, or do you have some desires to see what it might be like to be a play caller?
I think like anybody that, loves the game of football, you would always want to entertain what it would look like to be a play caller. But, I think at minimum, I would love to go be a quarterback coach in a program with people I know and people I respect and be able to, try and build something. The hard part is obviously like the college game's changed very significantly. It's hard to build a roster. It's hard to build that rapport, year in and year out. I think professional game is great, but like that's a really long, hard journey to get engaged and get involved there. But at the same time, I think it would be really fun to have an opportunity to, take the knowledge I've learned over years of playing, years of coaching and experience with around great mentors and be able to share that.
Okay, this is my homework project. I'm going to start looking at the Alex Brink connections, the potential Alex Brink tree, and see what coaches you might be connected to predict where you might get job offers. This is very interesting to me.
Oh boy!
Because
Here
the competition,
go.
just like I just saw where Dame's going to be in the 3-point competition, and he's not even playing because of the Achilles injury that he's still recuperating from. Like, I would imagine for you, because you played football at a high level, like those competitive juices never disappear, do they? So it's like I would imagine you catch yourself thinking, man, if I tried this or tried that, I would. Like that competitive desire, it starts to want to come out, doesn't it?
Oh, very much so. And, you want to, you just, and it's not even in a comparison game, but I mean, a lot of incredible people I know and are around my age or I get spent time around, right, are doing great things at a really high level in the football world, right? Whether it's guys like Matt LaFleur and Mike McDaniel, who I was with, in Houston when they were coaching, or Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, who I've known since college, and some really unique people in all facets, right? And so, like you see that, and you're like, gosh, that'd be fun to do that, at some point. But also, like, I feel very passionate about what we're doing here in Oregon and through eForce and building that. And I think you find your ways. Anybody does, right? But you find your ways as an athlete and a former athlete to channel those competitive juices and that passion into other things.
Well, the good news is for you, if you do decide to get into coaching, you are technically part of the Shanahan-Kubiak tree, and based on what I've seen, those guys tend to get jobs pretty well. So just keep that in mind as you move forward, brother.
Sure, that's a good point. I'll lean into that for sure.
All right, if you have any questions for the team at eForce, especially with their eForce baseball offseason training, hitting, pitching, fielding lessons, camps, and classes, just email team@eforce.com. Hey, Alex, I appreciate you, buddy. Love talking football with you, and thanks for your time.
Much appreciated. Take care.
Well, it's got to be great to be Sam Darnold. Monkeys off your back. You're a Super Bowl champion. No one can ever take it away. And now you get a chance to build on what you just did in your first year with the Seahawks going into year number 2. And I'm excited for him because it's got to be nice. He's got a home. He had the great year in Minnesota, but they elected to go in a different direction with their quarterback and went with J.J. McCarthy. They should have kept Sam Darnold, but now he's found a home in Seattle. And he's got a championship, and he's going to be able to continue to build on that. And the key for the Seahawks is just to make sure they find the right offensive coordinator that can work with him so he can continue to grow. All right, Lamar Hurd going to join us at 5:20. Can't wait to talk with him about what we saw from this group last night in that phenomenal 49-point third quarter. You can reach out to me on the Rip City Radio text line at 88528. You can call, and I'd love to hear from you, 503-248-0620. What did you think about that third quarter last night? And what are you seeing now from this team as they're healthy and we get ready for the stretch run? So Lamar Hurd at 5:20. We got Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5 right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, going back to that brawl last night, we saw with the Pistons and Hornets, Musa Diabate, who is with the Hornets, and he's the one that lost it with Jalen Duren of the Pistons. And by the way, there are certain guys in the NBA I would not fight with. I would say Jalen Duren, who is the Pistons center, would be right at the top of the list, along with Naz Reid of Minnesota. Those two guys are big, strong, and intimidating. Jalen Duren is one of the strongest guys in the NBA. But according to this report, Hornets big man Musa Diabate said he hit a breaking point when Detroit center Jalen Duren put his hands on my face. He also wanted to say, quote, "That's kind of when I lost control of it." And that's what he said to the Charlotte Observer after practice today. According to the report, the third quarter brawl halted play at the 7:09 mark, with Detroit leading at 70-62 at the Spectrum Center. Diabate, Jalen Duren, Charlotte's Miles Bridges, and Detroit's Isaiah Stewart were all ejected, and the Pistons went on to win the game 110-104, snapping the Hornets' 9-game win streak. Now, the crazy part is there were two different episodes. You had what took place between Diabate and Duren. So as those two guys were trying to take blows at one another, all of a sudden Isaiah Stewart, who's no stranger to on-court scuff-ups, he charged Miles Bridges. And Isaiah Stewart is, well, he's proven he might be a little bit crazy. And he's tough, too. Like, he's crazy. The reason why Isaiah Stewart scares me is because he's like a wild card. He's unpredictable. And those are the last type of people you want to get in a fight with. The initial collision came after a foul inside when Diabate and Duren got tangled up in the paint. And that's when everything escalated. The NBA also released a pull report explaining the ejections, with crew chief John Gobble saying the players engaged in, quote, fighting activity during the dead ball sequence and were ejected by rule after replay review. One more important detail from the same pull report: Hornets coach Charles Lee was ejected later in the game for coming onto the floor and aggressively pursuing an official. Now, according to this report from the Observer, Diabate didn't try to pretend it was anything other than an emotional moment. Going back to what I said, Michael Holton touched on last night, play with emotion, but don't get emotional. But he drew a line between normal physical competitive basketball and what he viewed as a personal escalation. Quote, "We go back and forth, it's basketball." So there you have it. Miles Bridges called it the most disrespectful thing you can do. Bridges also spoke after practice, saying, in regards to pushing him in the face. And that's what Duren was accused of doing. Bridges said Duren pushing him in the face was the most disrespectful thing you can do. I mean, it might be disrespectful. Is it the most disrespectful thing you can do? Bridges added that he should have handled it differently, saying he should have gone to Diabate and made sure he was okay. Well, there you have it. The NBA is just not going to allow this kind of activity to go on. Isaiah Stewart's been out of control before. The league's had issues with fighting in the past. They're just not going to let it fly. I'm not offended by it. I used to see it all the time when I was younger, but the league's not going to go for that. I mean, it's different. Hockey, the guys are padded up. They've got all the protective gear on. And the reason why this is where it's different. Basketball is different because there's no padding, right? You're not wearing helmets. You're not wearing protective gear. You don't have the pads on. In basketball, you don't want to fight because guys can get seriously hurt. Now, in hockey, the reason why they allow guys to tangle once in a while and get a few punches out, one, they're wearing protective gear for the most part. And two, the reason why it's important to let hockey guys fight from time to time is because they're on the ice, they're banging each other up against the glass, and they're carrying sticks. And so if you don't let guys, drop gloves and duke it out occasionally, they'll start carving each other up with the sticks to get their frustration out. That's why they allow hockey guys to fight. That's why it's different in hockey. But you don't want NBA players. they're making too much money and they're too valuable, and you don't want guys getting hurt because of a fight, especially one that can easily spill into the stands, because that got a little bit wild last night with the Pistons and Hornets. And the league has gone through great lengths. You can't come off the bench in an altercation. They don't want guys throwing punches. You're going to get ejected and fined and suspended. And it's probably the best thing. The league, they wanted to clean it up. And after what happened with the Malice at the Palace, they do not want another episode where things spill into the stands. I've long believed that, gambling is the worst thing. Anytime anything happens that could question the integrity of the game, that's a problem. But after that, fights that spill into the stands and get fans involved, that's the next worst thing. Because all of a sudden you could have a melee on your hands. So there you have it. But, it's going to happen from time to time. Guys are banging one another. Guys get physical. Elbows are flying. Sometimes guys are going to lose their cool. But it is interesting that on a night when we had two different fights going on, Naz Reid got into it. Why you would pick a fight with Jalen Duren or Naz Reid is beyond my understanding. And the Blazers are going to be in Minnesota tomorrow to take on the Timberwolves. But, yeah, I remember back in the day, the league was different because you had enforcers. So what you had is similar to hockey where, like the Bulls had Charles Oakley and then the Knicks had Charles Oakley. Every team basically had an enforcer. And the job of the enforcer was to protect the star player. Guys like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, the superstar. You had the enforcer to protect them from the physical contact that was taking place. And back before the league cleaned up their style of play and what guys were doing, you would have offensive-minded players getting mauled when they would attack the rim. And that was the game plan on Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. It's like, we're just not going to allow any layups. And if they come in the paint, we're going to hammer them. And that was the game plan. The Celtics and Pistons, same thing. It was a physical brawl. And the Pistons, they knew their strength was defense, and they knew they had some tough guys, so they tried to use intimidation and physical play to carve their pathway to a championship. And, the Celtics, when they were playing the Lakers in the finals, and they were using Showtime and the run and gun, the fast break, the Celtics knew they had to slow the game down and kind of muck it up, and they did. And they did so with physical play. It's wild to me. And I also had a conversation. Someone was reaching out. We were talking about Dame and his role next year and the idea that, he's going to have to play defense. And I just don't know. Like with Dame, he's never been a great defender. And at this stage in his career, coming off the Achilles injury, I don't know if you can expect him to be, a plus on the defensive end. But you can have guys on the floor who can protect him to a degree. But if he's lethal and knocking down the three, then he can mitigate some of the defensive inadequacies. And I would be okay with that. All right, Lamar Hurd going to talk ball with us coming up at 5:20. I appreciate your time. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. The Trailblazers on fire last night in their victory over the Sixers. Blowout fashion. They put up 49 points in the third quarter, one shy of the franchise record for points in a quarter. They outscored the Sixers by 27 in the quarter and go on for a blowout victory. They've now won 3 straight. They're 2 games under 500 at 26 and 28. They've got 2 games remaining before the All-Star break. They'll be in Minnesota tomorrow to meet the Timberwolves. Tip-off at 5. Chris Burkhardt will Blazers game day at 3. Thursday, they'll be in Utah to meet the Jazz with a tip-off of 6 o'clock. Tamani Kamara last night, career-high 30. Also made a career-high 8 3-pointers. All-Star weekend, the Blazers going to be well-represented. Damian Lillard is participating in the three-point competition. Young Hansen and Donovan Clingan in the Rising Stars. And Denny Avdia will be in his first All-Star game. Lamar Hurd coming up at 5:20. All right, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. We're going to do that here in about 8 minutes. So listen to me for your chance to win. And I made a bit of a verbal mistake. I thought we had 2 pairs of tickets today, but the email I got, one is for today, which is February 10th. One pair is for next week on the 17th. Today's pair will be for the Denver Nuggets game coming up at Motor Center post All-Star break. And we'll give those away here in about 8 minutes every Tuesday here on the Rip City Drive. Trailblazers Ticket Tuesday, your chance to win tickets to every single home game throughout the season at Motor Center. So listen to me for your chance to win. We're going to talk with Lamar Hurd, Trailblazers television analyst. He's going to join me coming up at 5:20. I haven't spoke with Lamar on air in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to the conversation. I can't wait to get his take on what we saw last night, and I'm pretty excited about the game, because that was some of the best basketball I've seen from this group in multiple years. That third quarter was really exquisite basketball. And it was unexpected because I didn't like the flow of the game in the first half. The Sixers were creating some issues with the Blazers' offense, forcing a lot of turnovers with their ball pressure at the point of attack, and they were having success. But the Blazers were able to finish the first half on a big run, 19-8. They were down by 1 going into the locker room. And then they came out and played 12 minutes of awesome basketball. Now, Tamani Kamara was the star last night, 30 points, that a career high. He made 10 of his 12 shots, which is on fire, and he made a career high 8 threes. He was 8 of 10 from beyond the arc. And he chased around Tyrese Maxey for most of the night, the Sixers' best player. No Joe Embiid last night, but Maxey's a tough cover. He's really quick with the basketball. He can hit from all angles, and he's got incredible range. But Kamara, like usual, on the opposing team's best player, and he leads the league by a long shot in terms of miles traveled. Defensive miles traveled. This guy's always moving, always working. I just appreciate his work ethic. So Kamara really led the charge last night, but multiple guys stepped up. Scoot Henderson looks great. Second game back, 12.6 assists, but just the way he's moving, better patience in the way he's operating on the floor, the decision-making, the vision, we're starting to see him come of age. And it's been a tough, go of things for him early in his career. Just getting used to the NBA game, adjusting from the G League, and then dealing with injury. But here he is ready to go, and he's going to be fresh down the stretch because he hasn't played all year. Love that. Jeremy Grant continues to play well, his best season as a Trailblazer. And then the All-Star Denny Avdia was awesome. He came back. He had missed 4 games. They were trying to give that back some rest to make sure he could move and be himself. And they want him to be 100% for that stretch run post-All-Star break. 26 points, 10 boards, 8 assists. I mean, the guy, he can't help but be on the floor and basically bring in a triple-double. Just the way he initiates the offense, the speed at which he operates on the floor. Seeing the way he and Blake Wesley get up and down is amazing. But the ball movement, they had 35 assists last night. They had guys who made shots. The ball movement was there. The defensive energy is what created the torrid comeback in that third quarter. I'm just really proud of the guys. That was great basketball. And now we're starting to see the makings of what they anticipated when the year began. They're getting healthier. You see the versatility, their depth, and they're going to be dangerous down the stretch because the final 26 games, they had the brutal schedule to start the year. There are a number of winnable games down the stretch. 26 games post All-Star break. I think they go 19-7, and they are going to finish above 500, which is going to be a dramatic improvement from last year, and they will be a part of the postseason. They'll be in the play-in for sure, and then we'll see if they can navigate that and get into the playoffs as one of the top 8 seeds in the Western Conference. Love the attitude, love the approach, love the intensity. That was great basketball last night. Now, Denny Avdia, getting ready for the All-Star game. I'm excited about that. He has a chance to represent Rip City and an entire country in Israel. And I know a lot of the Jewish fans thrilled to have Denny Avdia there. He's like a beacon of light for the entire country. But after the game, he had a chance to talk. And he did look like, after the extended rest, that he was moving better. He was looking more natural out there on the floor. Like he wasn't laboring through, the back issue.
So, Denny, just your thoughts on the way you guys played tonight, particularly that third quarter. Obviously, one of the best quarters you guys have played this season.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the most highest scoring quarter this season.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you did score 49 points.
Well, credit to Tumani. Had a great game tonight. I'm happy for him. He really helped us. But all around, I feel like the whole team, we just moved the ball. It was fun to play today. We were fast on offense. Like, we weren't really, I feel like tonight we weren't really, we didn't really care what happened on defense. We just got the ball out quick and try to get up as much shots as possible. But good, nice, complete game versus a good team, and that's about it.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I thought I'm gonna. At the beginning I was very winded, very tired, a little rusty. But I know how to play simple and make the right plays, and just the game opened up for me a little bit. Still not in the 100% shape I want to be. Gotta take me a couple of games, but other than that, I'm happy with the win and with how the team played.
Did you feel a big difference in your mobility?
100%. Oh, the difference between the New York Washington game to now is, it's like I can't even explain to you guys how much freer, looser I move. Credit to the medical staff for helping me also save myself, from me wanting to play. But it was a necessary break for me, and now I'm good. My back is good, and continue going forward.
Is the idea? I mean, is everything still kind of day by day, or are you expecting to play the last 2 games?
Well, I don't know. It's still some decision I got to make. It's not my only decisions. I'm gonna talk to the coaching staff, medical staff, and we'll make a decision.
Is there a way to describe what it's like when you've got so many weapons? Almost everybody's healthy now, and you're moving the ball around, you're playing free and flowing.
We're very dangerous, and I think that was that was what we looked at the beginning of the year, and how talented are we, and how together we play, and how everybody here has given their effort and 100%, and that's what winning teams do. And I think there is a capability for a very, very good team here. So hopefully everybody will be healthy, we'll be together, and I think it'll be all right.
This is the first time you've played with Scoot this season. What's it been like to have him out there?
Scoot been awesome. The first game I saw him from the sidelines, and I actually came to him. I think the day after I told him that I'm proud of him, that he after him not playing for so long, just coming there and just making a difference, touching the paint and making the right and simple plays. This is awesome. That's what we needed. And his game will come along. He's still he didn't play for a very long time, and he's very talented. And I think he's on a really right path. And I'm very happy that he's coming back from injury.
Looking forward to seeing Hongson and TC go against each other.
100%. Hell yeah, it's a good competition.
Yeah,
I like it. We see it in practice every day. So now I'm gonna see it on the big stage.
Yeah, what's that like?
They help each other. No, they help each other. They have good connection. Yeah. And I never really only see him in practice. I never really see it in games, but it'll be interesting. I'm happy they're both in it, though, so that's the most important.
Friends.
Yeah.
למה אתה מחכה הכי הרבה בסוף שבוע אולסטאר?
וואו, אני לא יודע למה לצפות כל כך, אבל כמובן שלעם ישראל ולאוהדים שיבואו לתמוך בי.
All right, there's Denny Avdia. So he's more mobile now. We don't know what he's going to do over the next couple of games. I would doubt that he's going to play in back-to-back games tomorrow and Thursday. That wouldn't make much sense in my mind, as he's still trying to get himself back to 100%. But the best part is he's got better movement now. And really, he hit on everything there that, in the way I look at the team, they are dangerous. And that's a good place to be. Healthy, dangerous. And then what I want to see them do is, get the best experience out of this stretch run as possible, meaning finish the season strong, take advantage of the favorable schedule, and then put yourself in the best position possible with the play-in tournament, get into the playoffs, and then regardless of who you're facing in that first round, make some noise. Make whoever you're playing work and earn their way through. And that's really what it's all about for me, because any type of postseason experience for this group is going to be valuable as they continue to move forward, and we'll see what they can do. So right now, and this is probably the way it's going to remain, Oklahoma City's 1 and San Antonio's number 2. So if you're the 8th seed and you have to play Oklahoma City, that's probably a quick exit from the postseason, if we're just being honest. But if they take on the San Antonio Spurs, while that's a difficult matchup with Wemby and their crew, they don't have any postseason experience either. So I wouldn't mind seeing that matchup. So I guess what I'm hoping for at this point, if the Blazers cannot get to 6, and 6 would be brutal too. Let me ask you this. Right now, the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, and a half game behind the Nuggets are the Rockets. I would suggest, while all 4 of those teams are legit, I would rather take on the Spurs than I would the Thunder or the Nuggets. And the Nuggets matchup just rough because it's Jokic. So there you have it. So take advantage of the opportunities down the stretch, get into the play-in, and then position yourselves to where you can get in and be that 7 seed and take on the Spurs in a first-round playoff series. That'd be a great experience for all of us, including the players themselves. And we'll see what happens. So right now, if the play-in started today, your top 6, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Denver, Houston, the LA Lakers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Phoenix is 7th, Golden State 8th, Portland is 9th, and the LA Clippers are 10th. So right now today, if they had the play-in, the Suns would host the Warriors, and the winner of that game would be the 7 seed. The Trailblazers would host the Clippers, and the winner of that game would play the loser of the 7-8 game, and the winner of that game would be your 8 seed. That's how it's going to play out. So we'll see what the Blazers can do down the stretch, but I'm just saying that with their favorable schedule, there's going to be an opportunity for them to climb up in the standings, and I guess I would like to see them, if they cannot get to 6th, then put yourself in a position to where you can get into that 7 or 8 slot and have a chance to play for the 7 seed. And there you have it. All right, Lamar Hurd, Trailblazers television analyst. He's awesome. He's going to join us next, and we'll get his take on what he thinks about this squad, what he thinks about the stretch run, Denny Avdia getting his first All-Star bid, Dame being in the three-point competition. We'll cover everything with Lamar Hurd. That's coming up next. And by the way, if you would like tickets, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday right now, the Nuggets coming up post-All-Star break. We'll take caller 11, 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. All of your Trailblazer ticket needs, just simply go to trailblazers.com. Caller 11 gets a pair of tickets for the Nuggets and Blazers at Moda Center coming up later in February. 503-248-0620. Fire away with your calls. I want to hear from a Blazer fan. 11th caller, 503-248-0620. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Lamar Hurd's coming up next. All right, our next guest, one of my favorite guys to talk ball with. He is your Trailblazers television analyst. Very happy to welcome Lamar Hurd back to the Rip City Drive. Lamar, what's up, my man?
Chad, my man. Good to talk to you as always. I'm glad to.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. I had so much fun last night because I thought that third quarter was some of the best basketball I've seen in quite some time here in Portland. And I have to wonder, if you look at this group, now that they're mostly healthy, aside from Shaden being out last night, don't you think that's more of the team that they envisioned having when the year began?
Without question. I know Coach Splitter touched on that in his post-game press conference, and I'm glad he did because during the game, I mentioned to Kevin Calabro a couple times, and I asked Kevin for his own thoughts on this, and I said, aside from the first week or two of the season, before guys started to kind of fall out with injury, what we saw last night from a purely stylistic perspective, so I'm not saying all the shots that went in and the fact that centers, Donovan and Rob were making threes and Tumani made 8 threes. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about the style of play and the commitment to that style, the pin-up, pressuring against a guard as fast as Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey does not get pressured often. He does not have to face that because his speed is elite, but so are the Blazers' defensive speed. And so I asked Kevin, I said, is this the best representation of what they envision besides what we saw in week one when teams would leave a game with the Blazers and they always commented on how physical, how fast, how intense the Blazers were? And Kevin agreed. He agreed with that, and then Coach Splitter as well acknowledged it in the post-game press conference. It was really fun, and it makes me optimistic to see what can happen going forward because in the first week of the season, Chad, when I saw how the team was committing to that style of play, and I started to think to myself, there really aren't a lot of teams in the NBA that can match up with this just physically, from a physical standpoint, the way the Blazers do. And then the Blazers have talent to go along with it. So it's not like you just have a bunch of athletes with no real skill, no high-level talent doing this. They got some real talented dudes that can score the basketball, that can defend. And so I remember thinking early on in the season, like, wait a minute. Some of these guys are talking about playing. Go for the playoffs. Go for that spot that you can have without having to play the playing games. And I thought that would be attainable for them until the injuries happened. So now, Chad, that injuries are starting to kind of subside. Guys are coming back healthy. Scoot's back in the mix. Now that I see that again, it gives me that renewed optimism for the stretch run, not only these 2 games before the All-Star break, but after the All-Star break. I think they can make some real noise and possibly be knocking on the door, not just of a play-in spot, but if things go optimally with the little talent and what I saw last night and the commitment of the style of play, I say, why not knock on the door of those playoffs? It would not shock me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the word Denny used to describe the team last night is that they're dangerous. And if healthy, based on what we saw last night, I think that's a perfect way to describe it. And that's where I want to start is with Denny Avdia. I don't want to speak out of place, and you understand the game better than me. But from my understanding with Denny, so we know what he's been able to do. He's been really good at handling the responsibilities of facilitating on offense, and he's been relentless at driving and attacking the rim, and he's great at that, that gather to be able to get to the foul line. Now, my assumption would be is that teams are now scouting and trying to come up with plans to limit what he can do, and yet he's still getting the numbers and producing. So isn't that kind of a definition of an all-star, a budding superstar in the league based on what he's done?
Yep, just described it, and further, it's a definition of an all-NBA player. It's a definition of the kind of player when people ask the opposing coach pregame, hey, coach, what are you guys going to do to stop this person? And you always hear this answer, Chad, well, we know we can't stop him. We're just going to try to make things a little difficult on him.
Yeah.
That's the land that Denny is walking in now, and it's real. And we saw it last season, but I understand some of these things take time for people to become real believers in. And that is fair because some people can do one thing one season and then the next season they're half the player that you saw the year before, or it works the other way around, whatever it is. You're looking for the consistency. This guy's been more than consistent in chat. Dangerous, I think, is the best word to describe it, as you said, Denny used.
Yeah.
Because think about Denny and the number he racks up, the assists per game he racks up, and this team has not even been a good shooting team. They've been among the worst in the NBA, and he's still racking it up. So now that's where I'm going back to. Wait a minute. If they get back to this style of play, because this style of play can negate poor shooting nights as well. The offense creates other opportunities. But if they are shooting even moderately or above average, yeah, dangerous is real because they match up with anybody. You can't name a team in the NBA that when these guys are healthy, they can't match up with, where you say, okay, well, who's going to guard this person? And then, okay, well, in the second unit, who's going to do this? They have answers to those questions, and that's what makes it exciting and, yeah, makes them dangerous.
All right, so with the team, they do a lot of things well. The issues I've seen of late, the turnovers are something that continue to plague them. We even saw that in the first half last night. Also, recently, the drop coverage when they have Hansen or Klingon on the floor and some of the open opportunities opponents have been able to get. Is it that, or is it something else in terms of what they need to continue to improve as they move forward to become that dangerous team?
Turnovers, to me, would be the bigger one out of the examples you named. And the reason for that is because the turnovers, the turnovers were to be expected, even with a healthy lineup, just because of the speed alone, the pace of play that they want to play at. Like, they started the season wanting to even run after the opponent made a basket. Usually in basketball parlance, people say, well, you got to get a stop in order to run. And they were bucking the trend. So with that, they knew, okay, there's going to be some times where a team goes on a 6-0 run, and we're telling our guys still get it out the net and go, where some teams might say, okay, hey, let's take a deep breath, let's calm down. They're saying, no, we're going to get it out and go. And even if that means we turn it over once or twice or a couple times after that, we will figure out eventually how to play at that speed. So that's one thing I'm looking for with them, is that as they recommit to this speed and pace of play, that they are able to take care of the basketball. Because the other things you mentioned, especially the drop coverage, is like that's more correctable and controllable. Like the turnovers aren't always going to be controllable because they'll play defenses that no matter how much you focus on protecting the ball, they got some good defenders and they can turn you over too. But in terms of the drop coverage and different alignments defensively, that's all under the Blazers' control. So I feel a lot better about that and want to see how they handle the turnovers.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, because you may have better insight than what I've been able to uncover myself, but one of the most unexpected parts of this season was that big winning streak they won on at the end of December into January, and a lot of that was done with Sidi Sissoko and Caleb Love playing big minutes. The coaching staff, let's just put it this way, Tiago Splitter had to step into the role in not the best of circumstances, so how has he and the rest of that staff been able to get some of these younger guys to be able to play maybe above their abilities so early in their career and mix those in with the more established guys to make it work? It's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive, and I think it's bigger than the coaching staff. The coaching staff has certainly played a part, but also when I look at the front office, when there's times when I'm in the practice facility and I'm watching how Joe Cronin and his staff, how they communicate with guys there, there's an atmosphere that's provided to them of growth, where everybody who's a part of the equation knows these people have my back, they believe in me, and they're going to allow me to grow. If I make a mistake, they're going to support me through it. We're going to grow through it. And so because of that, I'm not surprised by what Coach Splitter has led. And he spoke about this recently. I had a chance to moderate a conversation with Coach Splitter and then Joe Cronin, the general manager, and Dwayne Hankins, the president of basketball. President of business. We had a panel at Sports Oregon a few weeks back, and Tiago was asked about that, kind of, hey, you kind of got thrown into the mix. How do you make this whole thing work? And the one thing he kept going back to is the relationship that he has with players. He had mentioned there's times when he's got to yell at guys, and you've seen it, Chaz. There's times where sometimes then he might go to the basket, he gets fouled, but they don't call it, and then he's mad. And he's not running back immediately. And Coach Splitter is right there, barking at him, yelling at him. And he talked about how he has those moments, but then he also has the moment where, 5 hours later, after the game, and it's, 2 a.m. or whatever it is, he's sending Denny a text in the middle of the night saying, hey, I want you to know I still love you. I believe in you, and just touching base with him, not taking back what he said, because he meant what he said during the game when he told him to sprint and get back down the floor, but letting him know where that's coming from. It's rooted from a place of love, and the coaching staff, they've been very impressive in that regard.
That's pretty amazing. We're talking with Lamar Hurd here on the Rip City Drive, and maybe this plays into it. One thing Travis mentioned to me when you guys were in, I think it was Oklahoma City for New Year's Eve, he mentioned that there was like a team function that every single player went to and was a part of. So you had the entire group there, and what jumped out to Travis was how much togetherness he saw between the players, meaning that this group is really special in terms of the connection, the relationships on the team. And I'm wondering, too, if that helps play into that culture you were talking about where young guys can be encouraged to go out there and be aggressive and play hard, knowing that they're going to have the support of their teammates. And look, Cronin's done a great job of building a locker room of character guys, but it seems like this year this group is even more special in that department.
You're spot on, because as you were talking, it was taking me back to a conversation that I actually had with Joe Cronin back in training camp, and we were sitting there just kind of looking at all of his guys, and he mentioned that without me prompting it. I didn't ask a question about it, but he just mentioned how satisfied he is with the locker room, with the type of people. And you're so right, Chad, that's been something that's been very critical to the front office all the time. But it's like even at another level this season, the type of guys they have, the leadership they provide. And then think about this, Chad. You know how easy it is for some guys to get jealous in sports.
Yes.
Okay, so you got some young guys that are trying to find their way, and they are willingly playing the part that they need to play while they're watching a star like Denny Avdia ascend. It'd be real easy, and this happens on some teams, where some other guys say, well, hold on, he's not the only good one over here. We're tired of hearing about him every time we turn on, when the media, they're covering the Blazers, all we hear is Denny this. And then guys try to start to insert themselves, and they try to do things that really isn't best for the team, but it might be good for them. There is none of that. And that is rare in this kind of situation, because Denny didn't come, as you know, to the team as an established star. That'd be one thing. He kind of turned into this star while with the Blazers. So for them all to figure this all out together and do it in a way where somebody like Danny can ascend to the levels that he's ascending to, while the other guys are also improving, really goes back to what you just asked me about, the leadership involved. There is a roadmap, a path that's set forward for these guys. They get to decide if they want to be on it. And it's been a resounding yes from all of them. And that's why we're seeing the results we're seeing right now.
All right, I got two more questions for you. Sometimes this gets overblown, but I'm wondering from your perspective, this group now, once they get into the stretch run, the final 26 games, for many of them, they're going to be playing in bigger games and more pressure-packed moments than they're accustomed to because they're going to be making a push for the postseason. How valuable are those games going to be for the young players, and how valuable is postseason experience the first time you get it?
It's very valuable. I think it's going to be vitally important for those young players to just experience it, to see, because the setup is totally different. Everything even leading up into postseason, the type of media coverage you get, the amount of people, just little things like this, when you walk into the locker rooms and the tunnels and all the different arenas, all the arenas have different setups and different places you go, and where in that specific arena there's usually the gathering of people, whether it's the media assembled to talk to the coaches, or media assembled outside of your locker room to connect with the players, or whatever. When you get to the postseason, all of those spots that you're used to having people, multiply it by 2 or 3 at least to start off. So now even that's more crowded. The interest that guys get from their families, friends, tickets, people want to come to the game. Just the build up to it. You're yanked on the shoulder more because people have more requests. It's just a different atmosphere going into it. Kind of similar, but not the same as what it's like Super Bowl, heading into the Super Bowl the week before.
Yeah,
it's a madhouse. And so for people who haven't experienced that in any field, Chad, the same goes for you, I know you can speak to this, just covering a team that's out of the playoffs versus one that's in the playoffs. You know the different atmosphere that's involved with that. It transfers over the same way to the players, and just being able to have that under your belt only equips you more for the next time you experience it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, final question. I was a little bit surprised to get the news that Dame was participating in the three-point competition. I'm happy for him, and I'm just wondering if my read on this is very simple. I remember talking to him before the season began, and I could tell how much, because I asked him, I said, how difficult is it going to be for you to not be able to play basketball for a year? And it was already killing him, right? Because he wants to play and he wants to compete. And so my thought was, Lamar, he got an opportunity to compete in the three-point competition. He knows that he can do it physically because he's getting closer to being back to where he wants to be. So how much of this is Dame just seizing an opportunity to go out there and get those competitive juices flowing?
That's all it is. You read him correctly. You know Dame. You've been around him long enough to know how excited he is. There's been a couple of times this season where he sent me a message after a game that he was at. He was watching the game from home and was just so inspired by the play of his guys. Like, he's just itching to have another opportunity to get out there. So I know that that's what it is for him, and we will all, of course, be rooting them on. But Chad, yeah. I'll share this with you. I feel a little conflicted with him doing this, and here's why. I like it for the fact that we just talked about.
Uh-huh.
I would not have minded for him to not do it because his last season with the Blazers before the trade to Milwaukee was his most efficient shooting season of his career.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, before that season, that's when he had the core surgery and had to sit out an extended period of time. And throughout that time, he was itching the same way to get back on the floor. I remember in September of that season, we were on the coast for a Rip City rally, the preseason fan engagement tour we get to do where we get to go see all the Blazer fans around the state. And Dame had actually sent over a video. It's a clip of him working out in the practice facility, and he was shooting. He had to be shooting like 80% from the field, just running, shooting, showing how good he was looking, saying it's only a matter of time. I'll be back soon. And then he proceeded to have that most efficient season. So I would not have minded for him to follow the same track and be involved in nothing public. No public basketball, no nothing, and then he just unleashes when it's the season time. But I'm believing that he's still gonna somehow channel that same effort and production into this situation, even though he's coming out a little early beforehand to show off the shooting at All-Star Weekend.
That's going to be great. I can't wait to watch it. Lamar Hurd, Trailblazers television analyst. Lamar, as always, a pleasure to talk with you. Enjoy the next couple of games, and then I wish you the best for the stretch run, my friend.
Likewise, man.
All right.
Enjoy it.
You got it. There you go. Lamar Hurd. Love him. So much fun to talk to Lamar and catch up and talk a little basketball. And Denny Avdia is a budding superstar. Love Denny. You love Denny. I love Denny. There's nothing not to love about Denny. But this group, they're dangerous. That's what Denny said, and that's what they're going to be the rest of the way. Healthy, versatile, and they're going to be playing fast. And they're a problem. I mean, they were a problem for the Sixers last night. 2 more games to go. In Minnesota tomorrow, tip-off at 5. Utah Thursday, final game before the break. That game will tip at 6, and then they get a week off. And then we got 26 games to go before they kick into playoff action. And we'll see how far they can go. But the play-in is almost a definite 100% situation. And then it would be great to see them get into the postseason and have a playoff series. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Big thanks to Lamar Hurd. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, big thanks to I mean, you'd think I would know by now that there's going to be a liner coming, but I just talk right over the top of it. Sorry about that, Coors Light. All right, big thanks to Brendan Slaughter. He, along with Travis Demers, have encouraged me to dive into Landman. I did, and it is awesome. It's phenomenal. It is a terrific television show. And I love that you can crush episode after episode after episode. And when I'm done with that, I'm going straight into Tulsa King, which I have not watched yet either. So there you have it. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate you.
Oh, Chad, I mean, now that we got TV that we can talk about too, I think this is going to take our relationship to the next level. And I say this because it's one of the things Travis and I, whenever we do get to catch up, I'm not talking always sports. We're talking TV shows. So welcome to the club, my brother.
Dude, this is how crazy it is. So I'm watching the show, and I'm like, it never occurred to me until I got almost done with season 1, and I'm like, is that Demi Moore? And then, like, it all clicked, and I was like, she looks a lot like Demi Moore, and sure enough, it's Demi Moore.
It's that accent that I just couldn't ever grasp with her, because you're like, oh, yeah, you know, I've noticed, Chad, that and as you watch Tulsa King, and if you expand into the Taylor Sheridan universe at all, you'll kind of see stars that were bigger than life maybe 15, 20 years ago, he's locking in. Like, you're talking Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, you're talking Sylvester Stallone, you're talking Billy Bob Thornton. I mean, his pull for his entire television universe has been impressive, and it's always just these awesome actors and actresses.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I mean, Demi Moore still looks amazing for her age, but she's so good and entrenched in the character that I didn't recognize it as her. Right. And the accent's what threw me off. And then finally I was like, the eyes, and I was just staring at her one time because she was in a solo scene. I'm like, is that Demi Moore? And sure enough, it is. So it's pretty good. Billy Bob Thornton's terrific. Ali Lauder is amazing in the show as a crazy blonde. Legit crazy. She crazy. And she plays the character well. So I'm enjoying that show. Now, have you you've seen Tulsa King, right?
Oh, yeah. No.
Is it epic?
It's great.
Is that Sheridan too?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, you, Chad, being the Sylvester Stallone fan that you are, and I've learned that over the years, you'll love it. I mean, it's great. Pretty, I think, was it 3 or 4 seasons now? Whatever it is, but it's been great. I've enjoyed every minute of it. It's another one. Like I said, I said, I think over the summer when I was filling in for you, I'm like, Taylor Sheridan, man, got to be the most wanted guy in TV, man. And you think about how many bangers he continues to put out. There's quite a lot to watch, and we're in the golden age of TV, Chad. I tell you what, whenever I'm not dialing into sports, man, I got to dial up the TV to watch a little Taylor Sheridan, because it's endless, brother.
Well, I want to be a man of my word. I made a vow to Sylvester Stallone a few years ago where I was like, okay, you gave me Rocky Balboa. You didn't need to do that. And then somehow you gave me Creed. You did not need to do that on top of everything else you've given me in your life. I will support anything and everything you put out from now until the end of time. And so I've been saving Tulsa King because I knew it was going to be good. And everyone I know that has watched this show said it's awesome. So it is my duty and my vow to support Sylvester Stallone because of his greatness.
Oh, yeah. And, I'll throw in another one, like, as far as Tulsa King, just and especially you, Chad, being a native Oklahoman, if I'm saying that correctly.
I was born in Tulsa, baby.
Right. So, like, you will...
I'm the Tulsa King.
Right. So, like, you will probably look and be like, oh, there's, like, City Hall or, whatnot and all that kind of cool stuff. And, again, just the actors and the writing. I mean, you know as well as I, Chad, there's so many things on TV and things that maybe intrigue you, but then you're like, oh, the writing's crap, right? Like, It's not good writing, or you're like, I don't believe these characters, or terrible development. Doesn't happen with that guy.
Well, I think part of the reason why I love, Landman is because of where I grew up. I had, most of my family either worked in or still works in the oil biz.
it's eye-opening. I mean, you're watching and, not like they don't teach you that cool stuff in school, Chad. Like the way that, I think there's a scene where you'll get to sometime this season where they talk about why Texas is so oil-rich. And they're like, oh, it was a massive underwater sea and so many sea creatures, passed away here and it all got compressed into the oil that we know. And I'm like, well, tell it to me in a movie format. I like that. It's kind of cool to learn about history.
All right, I want to share this with you. Mark Schlereth, who is an NFL analyst for Fox, also does radio in Denver. Three-time Super Bowl champion, Mark Schlereth. He went on WEEI in Boston and explained why the Patriots got throttled by the Seahawks.
Who had the worst day for the New England offense? Was it Josh McDaniels, Drake May, or Will Campbell?
Josh McDaniels. I love Josh, and he's been unbelievable as a coordinator. But that was just a bad day, and I say it all the time in regards to Will Campbell. Put a guy in a position to lose. Don't be surprised when he loses because you're the dumbass that put him there. And I go back to the AFC Championship game in the snow and everything else. Even when you weren't running it for a lot of yards, you still gave it to your running back 26 times. And I think they had 13 carries combined with the two running backs. Like, you're in a game where it's 6-0 deep into the second quarter, and you've just abandoned the running game in totality. And at what point did you think Will Campbell was going to be able to block people? Like, was it going to be in the third quarter when all of a sudden he would realize, hey, I know what I'm doing wrong. I'm setting too deep, or I'm turning perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. At what point did you think all of a sudden it was gonna figure it out?
There's Mark Schlereth. He blames Josh McDaniels for putting his players in a position to fail. And boy, did that Seahawks defensive front annihilate that offensive line. All right, big thanks to our guest today, Dave Deckhard, BlazersEdge.com, Alex Brink, former Coug, and Lamar Hurd of your Portland Trailblazers. Big thanks to Brennan Slaughter. You guys have a wonderful night. We'll be back tomorrow. Blazers game day at 3 and the tip-off in Minnesota against the Timberwolves at 5. And it's all right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.